Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Valvoline and Spares Box. Don't forget Benny5 on checkout. This week we are back on the Cresta. We do have our damper back from Ross Performance. They have actually sent us a new one, and they've also sent us some parts so we can explain what happened with our one and how to repair your one in the future, because they are rebuildable. We are also going to be doing our fluids in this today because we still do need to give it a bit of a refresh from when it came back from the USA. I do want to also look at the brake system because I want to remove the OEM rear proportioning valve and put something aftermarket in that I can adjust the rear proportioning, because I think it needs more rear bias, especially when we're towing a trailer. Going forward, I do want to build a new drag and drive trailer that's going to stay in Australia, and I want to actually put brakes in that, because the biggest downfall for this has been that it's just a little bit struggling, I think, with the braking compared to, I mean, between driving it as a car, it's fine, but when we load it up with a trailer, yeah, I think it struggles a little bit. So yeah, something with rear brakes on the trailer I think will help a lot, and maybe more rear brake bias as well. So yeah, a few things to look at today. We're going to be doing the fluids, like I said, and we're also going to be putting our damper back on. So yay, more Cresta, I'm excited. The other thing is the tech inspection has definitely expired, but we are going to book one of those in sooner or later. So I do want to get it back to the track, but we can't actually race it until we get the tech inspection updated. So another thing to do before we race it again. And then I've got to make sure if my suit's out of date. Let's open the damper. This is obviously our Ross Performance Parts damper. As I've said a few times, these are entirely rebuildable, and Ross have also sent us a rebuild kit to add to our spares pack for the car. These are basically the O-rings that sit between the two halves of the damper, and you also get, well, they have also supplied us a bolt kit as well. They do have these locking washers, like a Nord-Lock or a Schnorr style washer. So yeah, they actually hold the damper together, and yeah, the dampening component is done between the two halves of the damper, and these O-rings separate it. So yeah, very much rebuildable, unlike some of the bonded versions. We did previously run those on the Cresta and other cars. I think the IS actually has one on the LS as well. So knowing what I know now, I'm probably going to look to try and get a rebuildable style damper for that also, because it's serviceable. Like they're dearer to get new, but like I said, you can service these, rebuild these. Fortunately, Ross actually just sent us a whole brand new one because our hub was also worn out. But these are also available in component form. You can repair, replace all of these. So like I said, these are fully rebuildable. They're made in Australia, so by all means support Australian made, because a lot of people don't make stuff here anymore. So it keeps people in jobs, and we get to do cool stuff with companies that are still in Australia. So we're actually going to put this on the engine now. I'm going to use my fancy dancy harmonic balancer, damper, puller, pusher, as long as I can find it.
What are these numbers for?
That's the timing marker. Hey, found it. It's probably that one. Oh, that's what I've got, which I've got to find. The seal for the timing cover. Being that we are replacing the dampener, I've got a new crank seal, because that seal's probably at least 2.5, 3 years old. We did also, like I said, we've got a little bit of a crankcase pressure issue because our breathers are a little bit small and our catch can's quite small as well. So these seals are currently working overtime, so I really want to get a new one in there while we're just pulling it apart and doing some servicing stuff, because at the moment it takes 5 minutes, whereas when we're at the track, if that seal was to leak more, having to pull the damper off at the track if we don't have that puller tool is definitely going to be not fun. We've got the damper now snugged down with the puller pusher tool. This thing's much nicer than trying to use the OEM crank bolt, or our aftermarket crank bolt in this case, to try and force the damper on. That's definitely not the correct way to do it. So one of these pusher pullers is actually really good to reinstall the damper correctly. Just got to get this pilot out of the crank too. It's nice actually because the kit has like a hex on the end of it, so you can literally just unwind it. I've seen some of them as well that have like a flat blade slot in them. Oh yeah, that one does too. So it gives you the option to be able to undo them depending on how they're installed into the crank. Always got to make sure your belt's facing the right way.
I'm not sure of sarcasm. Were you being legit? Do you actually have to have the belt facing the right way around?
I mean, only if you're OCD like me.
I see.
Which means, yes, you should do it the right way. Yeah, this belt's like to the millimetre, eh? I don't want to do that belt at the track either. Like, that's not going to be fun.
I can't see why you'd have to do the belt at the track.
Well, if the belt fails.
Oh, as in like it snaps. The
Yeah,
belt
if we have to
itself
replace
snaps.
one, yeah.
That one's still fairly new though, right?
Yeah, this one's only like a week old.
Yeah. So I guess next time the belt has to come off, you just change it precautionarily.
Yeah, they're not expensive. Toit.
Is there a lot of stress on the actual belt when you're doing passes?
No, not really.
Like it
'Cause
works
the-
just as hard as if you were just driving normally?
Yeah, because it's purely RPM related that the faster the engine spins, the faster the belt spins. Like it's
Okay.
not load based in, I suppose, yeah, you could argue that the belt is working harder during a pass because all the fuel pumps are on, which means the alternator is going to be working harder. So yeah, I suppose there probably is some merit to your question in is the belt working harder? Because I guess, yeah, it kind of is.
Because it's just spinning faster.
No, because the belt's going to be under more load because the harder the alternator has to work, the harder the
understood.
belt has to work.
The belt gets yanked on a bit harder.
Yeah. Now before we pull anything else apart, we'll see if it starts. Clear prop. Mud. May as well flush the block well in here. Watch it puke out all over the alternator. Yummy.
That's so satisfying seeing that though. I mean, not all over my shoes, but
Yeah, how's your shoes going?
I'm not so bad. Actually, I don't know why I wore my good shoes today, but I did.
You do like wearing good clothes to work.
I mean,
That time you wore a
thanks, I
white
think.
t-shirt here?
A what t-shirt?
A white t-shirt?
Nah. I don't know what you're talking about.
I was there.
Did I actually wear a white t-shirt? That must have been a
Or
mistake.
maybe you wore good pants. Someone else wore a white t-shirt here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no,
I'm like, bold strategy.
I don't wear white t-shirts.
No.
Because then you have to do their own singular wash. You can't
Really?
just chuck them in. Well, I think so. You can't
Oh, I
just
don't
chuck
know.
them in.
I don't do the washing.
Well, that's lucky.
I couldn't. When we were in America, Dad did the washing. I don't know how to use a washing machine.
I'm sure you'd figure it out.
Oh, I guess so. I'm a useless man when it doesn't come to doing like a car thing.
Doesn't know how to push the buttons on a washing machine, but probably could fix it.
Probably partly true.
Nice strategy. I'm hoping for your sake that your wife doesn't watch this episode.
She knows I appreciate all her efforts.
Ah, yeah.
She's also realistic in that knows that I can't do any of the domestic chores. She just gets it.
To be fair, you didn't know that you couldn't wash white shirt with
Exactly.
colours.
Like, you put me in charge of a washing machine, everyone's got wrecked clothes.
Would you put towels in with clothes?
Why wouldn't you?
I see.
Would you not?
I wouldn't,
Why?
because then your regular clothes get all fluff on them.
What?
Yeah, it's a thing.
That makes sense why we have a load of towels at home. Maybe dial it. No, I'll do it. Oh my god, head gasket, derp! Evidently the hose is still on. Use your strong hand. Come on, smoke Jesus.
Proceeds to use same hand. I like the use of AM fittings on your hose.
Thanks, I made that myself.
Pretty nifty.
I made it so you could do like cooling system flushes, and then it's also, I made a hose fitting effectively out of an AN cap and then machined the shoulder off it. So it was an AN cap there, and then that's just dash 10. It's a Teflon fitting, so it shouldn't technically be on rubber, but there's zero pressure, so fight me in the comments again.
How much do you have to worry about the schmutz on the radiator cap?
Oh, zero. It's just corrosion.
Just clean it off and go again?
Yeah, it'll get it clean.
Yeah.
I probably should actually put a new radiator cap in it, but I don't think I have one.
Yeah.
It's actually a factory Subaru cap. I don't know why. I guess it's what I had. do love these clamps.
They do look convenient.
Not missing the pin, it was in the clamp.
I was literally about to say that. I wonder if it's in the clamp. Damn, should have said it out loud. No, you probably don't believe what I thought.
Yeah, sounds like cool stories with Gian, if I'm honest.
Hey, nobody fact checked me on the 50-50 weight distribution.
Some guy was like spruiking about how an FD is,
I saw
or an
that.
FC is the best one.
I
And
saw that, yeah.
50-50 weight distribution doesn't matter when it never runs. That's like saying my IS has perfect weight distribution with the engine out of it. Same. Everyone's going to think that I hate rotaries. I actually really like rotaries. I like the thought of a rotary. I don't like owning one. Like, I'm scared to own one.
Yeah, because of money or maintenance or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Dear to buy, dear to run. And I have absolutely no idea about rotaries.
Do you reckon different tools as well
probably
would be required? Because I noticed that when I owned the BMW E46, I had to like change my toolbox to like...
Yeah, but that's because they're junk.
Look, I did walk into that one. I really did. I knew I was walking into it, but
Fish on.
But seriously, if that E46, when I owned it, didn't break so much, it would...
So if it wasn't an E46,
So if it was,
you would like it.
They handle great. I know it sounds like I'm saying that it's slow, and it is,
Cool.
but it handles amazingly.
You're really selling it to me. I really want one now.
You should sell this and get like an E46, an E36, an E30, just all the BMWs.
And depression.
Nah, this is the one car I think you said you'd never sell.
Well, I mean, I don't want to sell it. The thing is, like, the actual honest thing is, I don't think someone would pay what I would want for it anyway.
I think it would be irresponsible to just sell it to anyone.
Yeah, that too.
What is your tactic to getting this to the sevens? Are you going to just full send straight up, first day at the drags, or are you going to ease into it?
I mean, I want to get back in and actually drive the car again. But yeah, I reckon if we got a full day or a 2-day test day, like I saw there was a 2-day test day coming up pretty soon. I think it might even be next weekend. So yeah, maybe. I got to get the car teched first. I mean, I really want Matty to be there too, so that's a bit of a challenge too, because he's obviously living in Queensland now. The good thing is that Haltech's 5 minutes from the track, so maybe if he's to come down for a work meeting, we'll see. Yeah, but I really want to have Matty and maybe even Dad there too. Like, we're all so much part of the car.
Do you reckon you'll be able to feel the difference between an 812 and a 7?
It's so long since I've gone 8.1. Like, we were doing 8.4, 8.3, 8.6, 8.5. Like, that was the times we were running the US. So it's like, if we just throw the big tune up in it and I go for it, like, it's going to be quick.
It's been a while since we talked about like the technical aspects of like gear changes, for example, but is that still you manually doing that?
No,
like
it's
gear
controlled.
changing?
So we've got the CO2 shift. So I need to get the nitrous bottle and the CO2 bottle refilled. Well, the CO2 we shipped with gas in it because it's an inert gas and it doesn't matter. But the nitrous bottle we had to empty when we shipped the car back from the US, so I've got to get that filled up for $7 million here because nitrous is much more expensive than in the US. Now this oil will probably be pretty black because this particular batch of oil hasn't done a lot of ethanol. It's been more like petrol. That's not bad, but it's definitely much darker than what you'd used to see coming out of this being a predominantly E85 car, but E85 also makes the oil look really milky, like you've got water in it. Oh, not with that wrist. Something interesting to note, we've recently changed these Ryco Syntec filters. We were using just the standard Ryco filter, and for whatever reason, the element was actually coming loose inside the can. We had it happen multiple times while we're in the US, during Sick Week, I think it was. So I actually took a batch of these to the US with us. There is a Wix filter as well that we used previously that was not too bad, but I actually couldn't find the part number last time we were over there, so I ended up just taking a stack of these over. So yeah, at the moment we're running these and they seem to be working pretty well. I mean, they don't rattle when you pull them off after you've done an oil change. Touch wood, this won't rattle when I pull it off. I'm not going to rattle it straight away anyway, because then it'll spray oil everywhere. But yeah, strangely the filter was actually coming loose. You know, that one's fine. Yeah, the filter was coming loose in the actual can, so I got shot down by all the internetologists for running too much oil pressure, even though this thing's never had an issue beforehand. Admittedly, it does have very high cold oil pressure, but I like lots of oil pressure, and it seems to do this engine pretty well, so we'll stick with it. Just dump this whole jigger in.
What's the difference between like VR1 and just normal oil?
Just predominantly the additive package. So VR1 is a Valvoline Motorsport oil, but yeah, they'll have most likely higher zinc levels than a normal oil. Different detergent levels as well, because Motorsport oil is designed to be replaced a lot sooner, so you may not have as many detergents in it. But yeah, I mean, every oil manufacturer is different too, so I don't know the specific makeup of that oil, but yeah, I would tend to see, or I would anticipate that there'd be higher zinc and lower detergent in a Motorsport oil, because like I said, it doesn't have to do 20,000 Ks. It's designed to be changed all the time. So yeah, it may or may not have less additives, but yeah, I'd be pretty confident there's higher zinc level than a normal Motorsport oil, than a normal oil in the Motorsport oil. That's a bit confusing.
So if you put this in your street car,
no worries, but yeah, I would anticipate that it may degrade quicker. Yeah, I wouldn't go trying to run 15,000 Ks on a Motorsport oil, that's for sure. Because they're designed to be changed every event, really. The oils are. So yeah, I wouldn't go trying to run 15,000 Ks on VR1. Would be my personal opinion.
fair.
But others may have other opinions. Go for gold. Fight me in the comments again. I wonder if people think I'm serious when I say that.
I thought you were serious.
I should have bought some aluminium to fix the front bar today, then we could have actually done something instead of just fluff around for half an hour.
What's your game plan to fix this front bar?
So I'm just going, two-part process.
Yep.
I just want to put a strip of aluminium through the top to basically square all this waviness up.
Yep.
It'll clamp it flat, and then straighten the number plate bracket, because it's very bent now too. Like, that's also probably twisting it. The number plate's bent, so none of it's great. Thanks, shipper guy.
Good thing you got your articulation on that word right. Shipper guy.
Why, what else would it have been?
Well, I half heard stripper guy.
He might be a stripper in his spare time, you wouldn't know. Maybe you hear what you want to hear, Gian. Clip up. For anyone new here, that is not a death rattle, that is a mechanical timing chain tensioner. Yes, it sounds horrible, but it is what it is. I'm actually going to go back to an OEM Ford timing chain tensioner, purely because I don't like the noise. The mechanical tensioner served me well. We did change it before we went to the US. I think, maybe even before, before the Drag Challenge event in 2022. The Street Machine Drag Challenge 3-day event in Victoria. I think I put a new timing chain tensioner in before that event. So it's done 5 events now, plus cruising around the US flat out. Yeah, it needs some more oil. Probably needs another half a litre at least. I like to overfill it a little bit so that it minimises oil surge.
I wonder if everybody secretly overfills their engines.
Probably.
I know I do.
Always got to give it the extra little bit. It's like, oh, is that a litre? Not sure, I'll give it a bit more. That'll do. So I've had a little bit of a look at the braking system, and it doesn't look too hard to actually remove the proportioning valve that limits the rear brake pressure. I think what I'm actually going to do is just completely delete that with a hardline joiner to start with. That will at least allow me to work out if all of the rear brake pressure is too much. Definitely having more rear brake pressure will help us out with trailers and that sort of stuff. But I don't want to go, because the thing is that all of the aftermarket proportioning valves I've seen have got imperial threads in them, so that means we've got to cut the hard lines up and reflare all the lines with the imperial backing nuts. which is fine, but I don't want to do that if I don't have to. And the other thing is I can't easily reverse that should I need to. I'd have to cut it all up and do it all again for a third time. The other issue is to get a joining nut for a brake line in metric is pretty hard. I've never seen an aftermarket one yet. So that's probably going to mean a trip to the wreckers or somewhere, because I mean wreckers are hard to come by anyway. But yeah, I'd say I should be able to find one of those joiners. From memory, some Toyotas a little bit newer than this, maybe MX-83 Cressida or like A92 Corolla have a joining nut. Also Subaru GC8 has one. It's actually a double joiner, but I can use one side of it because it doesn't cross over. And Subaru Vivio has that also. And I know with the Vivio front cut, so I can maybe go and steal the joining nuts off of that. But yeah, it gives us some options, and that comes to my next thing. Is that's the reason why we haven't done all the fluids today. I didn't see the point in bleeding the brakes if I was going to pull that apart again. I'm actually out of rear diff oil as well, and the transmission's got fairly fresh oil in it. So depending on what we do coming up with the car, I'll either will or won't do that. But yeah, I definitely want to do the brake system because I do want more rear brakes. I said to Gian, I think off camera, this has still got the original rear brake pads in it from when we built it, like with MCM in 2015. So to me, that says it doesn't have enough rear brake because we've had like 6 sets of front brake pads in a car. So if we're still on the rear pads that were in it when we built it, that to me, like I said, says that it doesn't have enough rear brake bias. So yeah, we're going to revisit that sooner or later. But yeah, I've got to find some hardware to fix that or to delete the factory joiner. It's all pretty easy. It's literally just tucked below the master cylinder. It's really hard to see on camera, but the factory proportioning valve just sits under there. So yeah, if I can just get a joiner nut from a factory car that's in any Japanese car from the 80s or 90s will probably accommodate the same brake lines that are already in this. So yeah, fingers crossed that's a fairly easy part to come by, but yeah, hopefully I can go and steal one out of that Vivio front cut because I'm pretty sure I know that it's got one.
What are the advantages of having more brake bias to the rear?
More rear brake bias will allow the car to stop better, especially if we've got a trailer on. Sometimes the weight transfer, when you hit a bump, the front gets a little bit light. That may also be, I've got another separate theory on that maybe the rear springs are too soft. And it's actually basically getting to the full compression of the rear suspension, which is making the car pivot. So it might be a bit of a two-pronged attack with putting, the thing I don't want to do is put a heavier spring in it all the time. Like a heavier rear spring for the road is fine, but the car works so well on that rear spring now. I think it's a 125-pound spring in the back. So I really don't want to go putting a 200-pound or a 225-pound spring in the car. But then that also means we've got to change the rear spring every day. So not ideal for drag and drive stuff, but yeah, potentially we can look at swapping that rear spring out. The other idea I did have is potentially fabricate a mount to just put a secondary spring in for the road and we just take it out at the track. So yeah, that's still potentially something we could look at as well to add a bit more rear spring weight to the back of the car. So I guess for anyone I'm not totally across how the pound rating works on the spring, but basically the higher the number, the higher the spring rate, and that works for same for metric and imperial rated springs. So a lot of Japanese coilovers per se will have like a kilo rating, like 7 kilo springs, whereas a lot of the imperial stuff is always in pounds, so like 80 pounds, 100 pounds, 125 in the back of this. So yeah, it's a bit confusing, especially when you cross front to back. Like the front of this car's all metric, the back of it's all imperial. So it's a bit of a learning curve, and there's been a few times where I've had to Google and convert metric to imperial or the other way around to understand the spring rates front to back. So yeah, it's been a bit of a learning curve. That pretty much wraps us up for the day. We've got all the cooling system back in and together. We've got our Ross damper back in. Changed oil because the oil's pretty old. I don't like leaving old oil in the car. It's just sat and gotten a bit dirty, so I'd much prefer to put some fresh stuff in it. Yeah, VR1 seems to be the go-to for this thing. So yeah, hopefully it'll keep ticking along for a few years to come. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Good chat.
Good chat from the birds too.
Squaw.
They're just going off out there.
Put the cock in cocky.
Oh yeah, now they stop. We're done filming.
That's pretty standard here though.
Yeah.
That's what everyone does. Oh, you're filming? Better make noise. Oh, you're done filming? We're done making noise.
Oh man. The painful truth.
The accuracy.